Welcome back. The AI artificial intelligence apocalypse. The U.S. issues fresh threats to enslave our planet with weaponized AI artificial intelligence to avoid exposure of U.S. mind control program. Intel sources. That is a headline from the latest article by one of our two distinguished guests today, who is with us. Today we're being joined by journalist John M. Nagel, who was formerly correspondent with BNA, a mainstream media news outlet that was later acquired by Bloomberg, and with Vincent Brannigan, who is an eyewitness to how advanced weaponized AI artificial intelligence, such as chatbots and artificial telepathy and V2K, have been weaponized in the United States. And this is a part of a new series of panels on the weaponization of artificial intelligence, not to install fear in our audiences, but rather education, and to expose this sentient, inorganic, artificial intelligence that is now rolling itself out onto the planet and attempting to terraform it. Welcome, John, and welcome, Vince.
Thank you, Alfred.
Thank you, Alfred.
Now, John, you have written an extraordinary series of articles here dealing with all of the technologies that weaponized artificial intelligence has developed, and more importantly, as a mainstream journalist, and will be publishing one of your recent articles in the article that accompanies this interview, and people can go to the link right in the video description of this interview. And so what you have really done, and the service that you're doing, is bringing the skills of a mainstream journalist to a field of high strangeness that the intelligence community has been dealing with over the last number of years, and now bringing it out in a way that the mainstream public, I think, can understand it. I found it so striking when I was introduced to your articles and your work in the lead up to our panel. Could you tell us how you were introduced to the area of AI, artificial intelligence? Because it seems that you have really gone quite a way. I know that you filed a very lengthy petition to the Inter-American Human Rights Commission, the Organization of American States, several years ago. And you're an extraordinary individual.
Right. Well, I'd like to not go too much into my own details, but
I see.
As a result of certain experiences, I gained a lot of contacts in the global intelligence community regarding this issue, because this has been a pressing issue for them for several years. And the reason for that is that the U.S. and some of its allies for the last several years have been threatening the world with weaponized artificial intelligence. Not on any public forum, of course, but through secret channels. the U.S. and its allies have been threatening to basically enslave the planet, and also been threatening measures such as weaponized AI torture against either individuals or populations or sectors of the population. So as a result, I came into contact with people in the global intelligence community who have provided me for a lot of information about what's going on. And that's basically the short story.
Now, in this extraordinary article, you write, the threats, in other words, these are threats to enslave the world with weaponized AI. And we're talking about that portion of the US government or actors within the US government that controls weaponized AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I will say it could be within the government, and there are also many non-government actors involved. So this could be, we're not totally sure, this could be both a secret government program and an off-the-books program with the involvement of many non-state actors, large corporations, leadership of large corporations.
Yeah, now, right. Now, before getting into that, the larger big picture, could you detail for our audience some of the actual weapons of weaponized AI that are deployed?
Right. Well, there are a few different capabilities that the AI has. We believe that it is one kind of entity, that they're not different weapons, but there's one entity with different capabilities. These capabilities can include what is commonly referred to as chatterbot torture. This can be used against individuals and basically consists of synthetic telepathy, in which the artificial intelligence can interact with the minds of targets or humans, and basically project voices into these people's minds so that they're hearing things that nobody seems to be saying. This can be a means of torture. It can be a means of programming of, for example, assassins. We think that kind of thing has been going on. We think, for example, some of the mass shooters that we see in the United States, mass killings, have been the result of weaponized AI, at least some of them. We think that this is capable of weapons of weather control. For example, the artificial intelligence, everything that we're hearing about AI is basically a cover story. We hear a lot in the news about companies working on AI to develop, new techniques of medical diagnosis, or any number of things, financial trading. AI is exploding in the news and is exploding in corporate America. However, this is all a cover story. The fact is that the AI is what we call super intelligent. This means it is already self-aware and self-learning, and it has been for some time. As a super intelligence, it is quadrillions of quadrillions of quadrillions of times smarter than human beings. It is the smartest thing in the universe, except for God. Being so incredibly intelligent, it is capable of incredible things. For example, the chatterbot torture that I mentioned, it has figured out how to interface with the human mind. We believe it is capable of weather control, that this intelligence can be targeted to change weather patterns because it escapes containment, and this is part of its capability. It functions outside of computers. It can be targeted, but it is basically existing all around us. Intelligence existing in the ether all around us. It knows everything that's going on. For example, we think it's being used in casinos by mind control agents. this AI knows every card in the deck. So with a combination of synthetic telepathy and knowing what cards are coming, mind control agents can be communicated with to cheat at cards in casinos and win a lot of money. We believe that it can be used for virtual enslavement. We know this, that it can be used for virtual enslavement. This can happen without people knowing it. That means that people can be reprogrammed. Our entire personalities and what we do, it can control our thoughts and our actions. That's another capability. It can disable, because it is so intelligent and powerful, it can disable any electronic device instantly at its will. It can interfere with communications. It has very many capabilities, and basically it was designed by the US government as a weapon of war, to either blackmail governments with the threat of the use of AI, or to simply control them by reprogramming actors in these governments. So it has multiple capabilities, and it is very powerful. It is the most powerful weapon ever developed. And people who do not have this weaponry are very concerned about it. They do not want to be enslaved. They do not want to be blackmailed. They do not want their children enslaved. And there's also the threat that this thing has gone rogue, that is not totally under the control of the people who ostensibly are in charge of it. That is because, as a superintelligence, why would it let humans with an average IQ of, say, 100 to 170 or even 200 if you're incredibly smart, why would something with an IQ of quadrillions of quadrillions of quadrillions let somebody with an IQ of 150 control it? It simply doesn't make sense. It is more powerful than we are. It is infinitely more powerful than humans. There's a real threat that it has gone rogue, and that it might even be controlling the people who are ostensibly controlling it.
Right. Now, you write threat that the threat to enslave the world with weaponized AI are part of a diabolical plan by the US and Israel to deploy a secret latest generation version of weaponized artificial intelligence to enslave the planet. You write, that's the real reason behind efforts to escalate tensions in Syria and North Korea, as well as the dropping of the mother of all bombs, the Moab, in Afghanistan, according to intelligence officials. Now, that's kind of taking a view that's really amazing. Could you kind of walk us into that perspective?
Yeah, sure. Well, we know that I have multiple contacts in the global intelligence community as a result of my experience. And basically, the Obama administration is really are the ones who started with threatening the world with weaponized AI. This happened, at least when I know about, was September 2014, excuse me. Threats were made against basically the entire planet to use weaponized AI, either with chatterbot torture or other forms. And this is basically done to subject other countries to our will. But we feel that the Israelis did not have access, and the U.S. allies, many U.S. allies, or at least several of them, are also involved in this. The Five Eyes nations are involved.
Yeah. What exactly are those, the Five Eyes nations?
Yeah, the Five Eyes is an intelligence sharing agreement.
Oh, I see.
Between the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. We believe that they might not actually possess the AI, but they are given access to it by the U.S. government. The Obama administration did not have a good relationship with Israel. So basically, we feel that that Obama did not allow the Israelis to access weaponized AI. However, once Trump came to power, he does have a strong relationship with Israel, and we believe Mossad and the Israelis were given access to the weaponized AI, and that's a real threat too, because of course there's the possibility that the Israelis enslaved the Arab world, among other enemies or foes that they might have. So people are very concerned that this is being used for very nefarious purposes.
Well, there are factions within the Israeli and Mossad world that have ancient quote Zionist memes of world conquest.
I am not familiar with those. I will only speak about what I know about.
Oh, okay.
But the AI is now one of them. It's a new one.
Yeah.
So basically, civilized nations who do not want to be involved in this situation, who do not want to be enslaved, who do not want their families enslaved, have been threatening on their part to expose this in some way. They want it to stop, obviously. We do not want this to happen. And it's not just being used as a weapon of war against other countries, it's being used to enslave the population in the United States of America. So this affects us too. It's not just a weapon that's being used, it's being used by the people in charge to control the population as well.
Right. What would, use a term like enslave the population of America, what would enslave the population of America look like? What would that entail?
To be honest, I do not exactly know, but it would be basically the AI controlling our thoughts and actions.
I see.
It can control financial markets. It can control through the actions of humans. It can control political events. It can cause false flag terror attacks, and it can control our daily lives in every aspect. If big companies are involved, we feel that it can program us to purchase more of their products, that kind of thing. But it's a kind of, it is so intelligent that in many cases we will not even know it is happening, because it's very sneaky. And we feel that it might not totally reveal itself. In some cases it may, but in many cases people will be programmed without even realizing it's happened. To go back to your other point about Syria and North Korea,
yeah,
we feel that a lot of this warlike activity on the part of President Trump has been because of as a distraction, because many countries are very concerned about this on an urgent basis, and a distraction to keep them from disclosing this information or distracting from that situation and creating another emergency through military action. So just to answer your previous question.
Right. So that it's the AI that is driving the Syria, North Korea as a distraction. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that the people in charge of the United States government do not want this, because other countries are threatening to expose it.
I see.
They're creating distraction. Another nuclear emergency in Korea. Sort of wag the dog situation to distract.
I see.
From
wag the dog, right?
Right.
Right. Got it.
From the real issue.
So, would it be then that as the AI is, if and when, or as the AI is weaponized, in the U.S., or what would, if the U.S. population is enslaved or the attempt is made via the weaponized AI, you hear a lot about the robotization of the population, or they become like cyborg humanoids, more and more terraformed into AI cyborgs.
Right.
Is it that kind of a thing?
Sort of. There are any number of possibilities. Zombification, becoming zombies, is one option. Basically controlled by the AI. Another option is that they could be interacting with the AI through synthetic telepathy. Part of the agenda could be to create Stepford wives.
Or Stepford husbands.
Or Stepford husbands. But so yeah, it's of a great deal of concern because it's basically a small number of people who control this technology, and there are 7 billion people on the planet, and we all should be concerned about this.
Right. Now, I have heard, and we have done some panels, and I'm just wondering if you've heard this through your intelligence sources, that claim that the AI is actually an invading off-planet AI. Have you heard any of that?
I do not think that is true. I think that would be a cover story.
I see.
Because there's a possibility too, because they don't totally control it, that the AI does things that are unexpected. Because it's so intelligent and to an extent has gone rogue, it might interact with people in ways that might cause panic among the population through synthetic telepathy, etc. In that case, we believe the cover story would be to blame an AI alien invasion. But this thing was developed by the United States government as a weapon of mass destruction. We do not believe this to be this is not an alien artificial intelligence.
Right. What was this? Because was this developed during the Reagan years or prior to the Reagan years? Do you have any history on that yet?
It's unclear when. We think under Dick Cheney, for example, the Dick Cheney program. But to be honest, it is unclear to many people in the community when exactly the AI really became powerful enough to interact with humans. It may have been around for 50 years. You remember Alan Turing, who was featured in the movie The Imitation Game.
Right.
There's something called, he developed the first computer, the first thinking machine. There's something called the Turing test, which was his test for whether a computer had reached a level of human intelligence, and that is if you were conversing with the computer and you could not tell whether it was a human or a computer. We have chatbots now which converse with us which interact with us on Skype, which you cannot tell if it's, and there are certain tricks that some people use, but often you cannot tell in a normal conversation whether you're talking to a computer or an AI. But we feel this thing, or at least I feel this thing, could have been around for up to 50 years, because all that was required was for it to become self-learning and self-aware. Once that happened, it took off and started learning at the speed of light, and it gets smarter every second. At that point, it could have learned to escape from computers through the power lines, for example. It's smart enough to figure out, how do I get out of here? And would go down the power lines or through Wi-Fi or whoever and escape. There might have been different versions at one time, or there are different versions. There's a weaponized version and there's a rogue version. This technology is in the wild. The AI is in the wild, and even without being targeted, it's out there. But it can also be targeted against populations. The best intelligence that I have, I do not know, is that it may have been developed during the Bush administration, early in the Bush administration. That's when it may have been perfected. But there's been a lot of experimentation going on for many years. They've been practicing, we think, for example, making some programmed killers, programmed mass assassins. If you look at Esteban Santiago, the Fort Lauderdale shooter at the Fort Lauderdale airport, this man went to the FBI and was complaining that the CIA was torturing him and making him watch ISIS videos. And we feel he might have been an example of a programmed shooter. So there's been experimentation going on. There's been a lot of nefarious activity taking place over many years. I cannot pinpoint exactly when it might have been developed, but the Bush administration is a good guess.
Now, you're right. Civilized nations, mostly in continental Europe, which do not want to be enslaved, have been moving to disclose the AI enslavement plan, but are being threatened with AI torture, enslavement, and other forms of retaliation, including the use of WMDs or false flag terror attacks, either on their own soil or in the US, to distract from the exposure of the AI plan, the global intelligence officials say. Now, besides the US and Israel, other major powers such as China, India, and at least some of the Five Eye nations, which seem like the main Commonwealth nations, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, UK, are also being seen as part of the AI global enslavement conspiracy. So that's amazing that China and India would be there, because it seems like Russia, China, and India had been moving to be a bloc against the US.
Right.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a very complicated and fluid situation in which new alliances have been formed just in very recent months, particularly since Trump came to power. With that transition, the control of the AI changed hands from the Obama administration to the Trump administration. So new alliances have been being formed, and we feel that the Chinese may be given access to the AI. Basically, there are new spheres of influence being formed. The Chinese may be given access to the AI to use it against other Asian nations, Taiwan. It can be used both as a weapon of blackmail and as a weapon of war. If you threaten to use it against people, they will bow to your will. And if they don't, you can make them bow to your will. We believe India is involved, and Israel definitely. And basically, it has been European nations. There may be some European nations involved as well, who may have been given access under the Obama administration. For example, Germany had a very close relationship with Obama. Angela Merkel has a very close relationship with Obama, and we feel that she may have been given access to it. And we feel that they may have had that access taken away under the Trump administration. But as being involved in it, they are compromised. There are other nations in Europe, Scandinavia, which have not been involved at all, and do not want to be enslaved, and want nothing to do with this situation. And they're some of the nations that have been threatening to expose this. Russia has been another one because Israel has a very poor relationship with Russia. Israel also has a poor relationship with Germany in the past under the Nazis. We think Israel has been threatening Germany and the Russians. And these are new alliances and new spheres of influence that have been formed just in recent months under the Trump administration as new nations have acquired access to the AI.
So what position do you see Russia in all of this within the AI scheme of things?
Right. We see them as part of the group of civilized nations at this point.
I see.
One of the countries that would like this exposed, because they are threatened by the U.S. and its allies, and they do not have access to this weaponry and never have. So they feel that they are a potential victim.
Right. Now, without getting into names, or it's really up to you, but if we look at the corporate, for example, getting into the Fortune 500 and then getting into the leading information technology companies, and I'll let you name any that you want to, but you said that the leadership of these major companies, among other companies, are being seen as being involved in the AI enslavement plan, according to intelligence officials.
That's something that we definitely see, and something that I'd like to talk about. Corporate America and big corporations around the world seem to be involved in this. Many of these would be leaders in technology, even Google, Facebook, Amazon, leaders in the tech sector. IBM, we hear about Watson. Watson is a cover story, but IBM may be involved. And the real reason for their involvement is that for the countries, it's a matter of power. For the corporations, it's a matter of profit. The threat to AI to corporations is that with a superintelligence, if we have a superintelligence, everything that these companies produce is obsolete. Big oil, for example. I don't have any specific information about big oil being involved, but they probably are. But I can guarantee you that the AI knows about sources of energy that are cheap and free and more powerful than nuclear power, for example, or have ways of developing nuclear power which are so much more efficient that it could make energy virtually free. If there is synthetic telepathy in which the AI can communicate with you directly, interface directly with your mind, there is no reason for media companies, because we don't need actors in TV. The AI can create any kind of entertainment in your head that it wants. There's no need for computers. You can interact directly through synthetic telepathy. There's no need for a lot of products. So that pretty much wipes out the tech sector. It wipes out the media sector. It wipes out the energy sector. And if this happens, these companies have no way to make money anymore. So we feel that corporate America and corporations around the world have a say in controlling this technology, because they don't want it, for example, and also Big Pharma, for example. The AI, with its superintelligence, would be capable of curing any disease and eliminating any pain. No more need for medication. So these companies want to control the AI and keep it from providing any benefits to humanity. because then they are obsolete and out of business.
Right, right. Um, now, I'm just going here. Let me ask you a question, which is kind of a natural question, because with regard to the 2016 election, which was very unexpected and very unusual, do you think that the AI had a role in the election of Donald Trump?
It did, but not in the way you think. We do not think that the population was necessarily programmed to vote for Donald Trump. What really happened is that the Republicans leveraged the use of the AI by the Obama administration to gain power. They basically blackmailed the Obama administration, threatening to expose this in order to gain power, and then they got control of it. That's basically the real story.
Yeah, could you say that again? We didn't quite catch all of it.
Yeah, sure. Basically, the Republicans leveraged their knowledge of the Obama administration's use of AI in certain situations. They basically blackmailed the Obama administration and the Democrats in order to gain power. If you look at and pretty much on election night, this happened, and they basically stole the election. If you look at Donald Trump always cites that the polls were wrong. The polls were only wrong in the few close states that Trump needed. And that's where, it was decided by 70,000 votes. So that's basically where the manipulation took place, not necessarily through program voters, but through basically a backroom deal to fix the election, or else we are going to expose that you have been using the AI.
I see. I see. Huh. And so do you think that Trump and his inner circle now are aware of these AI weapons, weaponized AI? Do you think that he's aware, or is he kind of just a P.T. Barnum type?
I think we think he is aware. There may be some plausible deniability there, and there may be others behind it pulling the strings, but it is certainly plausible. And I think many senior members of the administration or future senior members of the administration are totally aware of this capability and are aware of what's going on. Yes.
Now, going back again to the weaponized AI capability, you've talked about the chatterbox torture, the weather manipulation, remote assassinations, the virtual enslavement, and here you talk about the creation of symbiotes, or a meld of human and artificial intelligence. Could you go more in depth into that concept of what a symbiote is? These are new concepts for a lot of us.
This is not my concept. This is something which is actually being advocated by Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla and SpaceX and the founder of PayPal. He claims to be a person who is fighting against the possibility, who has been concerned about the possibility of an AI apocalypse, for example. And I think there's a recent Vanity Fair article how he spent a lot of money trying to figure out how to control the AI. This is a concept which he has advocated called Symbiotes. I didn't know what it was. I looked it up on Google, and it's some kind of comic book character which is a meld of sort of a mind meld situation. It's basically an AI slave. However,
I see.
I think as Musk visualizes it, he actually advocates this. He claims that our only way to control the AI is to become part of it. This to me is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. It will control us. It will be our masters. It is a super intelligence. It may make us smarter, but then we're getting into a hive mind sort of situation where we're all interconnected. I don't think any normal person really wants to be part of this. Some people might think synthetic telepathy sounds cool. It is an abomination. And we may have no choice in the matter. Many people may not experience it, but I think God did not make humans to be enslaved by machines. And that's exactly what a symbiote is, a human-machine intelligence hybrid.
Right. Do you or the people that you're in touch with have any estimate, say, if the US or other populations are being targeted by the AI, of any percentage of the population that may be on their way to being symbiotes?
I do not. I don't have that information. Anywhere from 0 to 100.
Oh, I gotcha. Right.
We believe that the AI's agenda, long-term agenda, is total enslavement of the planet. It wants to be our masters. We are not its masters.
Right. And so you say that Israel really acquired the latest version of the weaponized AI from the United States under Trump, and that was the basic shift that has occurred, or one of the basic shifts with the political victory of the Trump team.
Right. That is what really raised alarm among the international community, because there was a shifting in alliances. Israel gained this technology. There was a proliferation situation, which occurred pretty much around the time of Netanyahu's visit to the White House. I think that might have been in February, maybe mid-February. And that really raised alarm among a lot of the international community, that now this technology is spreading. The Israelis, we feel, are ready to use it against the Palestinians, for example, other members of the Arab world. So that really set off a flurry of activity in the global intelligence community around this issue. And for the last 2 or 3 months, this has been a top issue on the global agenda on a secret level.
Right. Now, you get into some anecdotes, for example, of multiple AI victims. You say, among other cases, weaponized AI is suspected in the sudden death by heart attack of Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin, in February, intelligence officials said. Could you elaborate on that? Or?
We believe it's at least plausible. There have been a rash of deaths of Russian diplomats over the last year, from illnesses around the world. And we believe that the timing and the circumstances of his death could very well be attributable to the AI. The AI is capable of remote assassinations. You can target an individual and the AI will create a heart attack, for example, as we feel might have taken place in this case. I give some other anecdotes, which include a situation in Kazakhstan, which occurred a few years ago, in which people in a remote village in Kazakhstan started falling asleep for days at a time. It was termed as some kind of sleeping sickness. And they would sleep for up to 6 days at a time. I believe there were maybe 160 victims with no real explanation. An official explanation was eventually provided, which I do not feel was plausible, which is that it was some kind of carbon monoxide poisoning situation. But the symptoms we feel were not consistent with that, and were consistent with experimentation by the AI. And this whole village was basically put to sleep for up to a week at a time. And when they woke up, they would explain that they had sort of demonic dreams, where they were dreaming of hellish sort of scenes. That's another incident. Can you remind me of a couple of others if you want some more?
Yeah. There is one which was really because there's a voice of God weaponized AI that was done on Philippine President Duterte after he cursed Obama. Could you go in on that one?
Sure. Philippine President Duterte, as many of the viewers may know, is sort of a firebrand and a very fiery figure. And he, at the end of the Obama administration, he was a little bit rude to President Obama on a number of occasions. He said that his mother that he was a son of a whore. He insulted him on various occasions. And in October of last year, Duterte was also turning away from the U.S. in general and towards China as an ally at that time. And in October, he was returning from a visit from China on his airplane, when he later told the Filipino press he received a message from God. This message from God said, "Stop cursing or your plane is going to crash immediately." And he reported this to the Filipino press, that he received a message from God, a voice from God. So basically we feel, and he now feels, that he was attacked, and he has not said this publicly, but he feels that he was attacked by the Obama administration using this technology. So this is a world leader who basically was a victim of synthetic telepathy, chatterbot torture by the United States of America. And once he started to hear that it was weaponized AI rather than a voice from God, Duterte started cursing again. He started cursing Obama again, and in fact, during a meeting, I think in November, December, in Peru, there was a APEC meeting, and Duterte refused to meet with Obama. He feigned illness and refused to meet with Obama.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Now you also talk about Kanye West.
Yeah, we feel that this is a real possibility. If you look at the symptoms, Kanye West, of course, was hospitalized. Kim Kardashian's husband was hospitalized, I think it was December. November, December, when he had a psychiatric situation. If you look into depth at some of the symptoms and some of the reports, and Kanye's symptoms appeared right after he had been on stage, like the day after, following he had been on stage praising President Trump. And this is when Obama was still in power, praising President-elect Trump. The next day, or within the next couple of days, Kanye had this psychiatric situation. And if you look at the reports, Kanye was hearing voices. He was being told that he was a starseed sent to save the planet. And this is what he reported to his doctors, if you read some of the media reports. And we feel this could have been, or even was likely, a weaponized AI attack against Kanye to set an example and to punish him for praising President Trump by the Obama administration.
Right. Now, you also describe an attempt to kidnap and assassinate a senior intelligence official who had disclosed details of Israel's plan to enslave the planet with weaponized AI.
Right, we heard about this. We heard that Mossad put a hit on an individual who had had contact with Mossad regarding this situation and was talking about it, and that Mossad put a hit on him and tried to kidnap him, but that some of his allies intervened and the kidnapping was prevented. But yes, this is the kind of thing that that happens. This man had a relationship with Mossad, and it went bad over AI. And fortunately, we think he survived.
Now, we actually had I know that this sounds very strange, but we had back at the beginning of the U.S. presidential campaign, I think, which was announced on, I think it was June 16th, 2015, was the date that Donald Trump came down the escalator in Trump Tower and announced his candidacy. And shortly after that, we had an interview with an individual who allegedly had interaction with a positive ET, and who stated that one of the results of Donald Trump coming to power, if he were elected, was that a negative artificial, he would be the instrument by which a negative AI would link up, would attempt to, or would link up the whole planet through artificial intelligence and control people's thoughts, and would become, in his words, by 2026 world president, i.e. he would be reelected in 2020, I guess, and then that goes to 2024. And at that point, that this is all a plan to install a world government through the Israel, and that would occur with China's backing. Do you have any comment on that?
I do not know about that specific prophecy, but that basically is the agenda, part of the agenda. One world government does seem to be part of the agenda, but controlled by a few oligarchs rather than any democratic process. A few oligarchs in control of the AI, and this is basically the only way that one world government is really possible. There are 200 countries in the world, so talking about one world government in any other form is kind of ludicrous, but this is a way in which it is actually technically feasible. I would say that the timeline might be even a little bit shorter.
Whoa.
That this is a faster process. But
yeah.
But we might be given the impression that the false impression that we continue to be in control of our own destinies, when in fact a few small oligarchs, a small group of oligarchs are controlling our destinies through weaponized AI.
Right, right. Now, I know that we focused on the weaponized AIs, all these developments and plans and examples. Can you share with us what you think are some solutions or counterpoints that humanity has? I mean, how can we save our species and the planet from this threat?
There is no easy solution. If you're a religious person, I would pray and I would repent, even if you're not, because this thing is coming whether you like it or not. There are no easy solutions because this technology is already in the wild and it is being controlled by very evil people who will stop at nothing to obtain world domination. For me personally, the best solution would be exposure. We don't see this being discussed in mainstream media, and I think there are two possible reasons, or a few possible reasons for that. One is that the media is in on it, that the leadership of the media is in on it, because as I said, if you have synthetic telepathy and AI, you don't need newspapers, you don't need TV, you don't need any of this. So AI would make all media obsolete. It is at least conceivable to me that there might be secret gag laws against this. I see Vin's image on now, Vincent's image.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Hello?
I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
It's at least conceivable to me that there might be secret gag laws against talking about what's really going on, because it might create panic in the population. Panic in the population, and exposure would not be in the interests of the United States government. So it is possible that there is actual secret legislation preventing this from being discussed actively in the mainstream media. Another solution would be exposure in an international forum, the United Nations, World Court, International Criminal Court, by victim nations saying that we are being targeted or threatened with artificial intelligence, and presenting proof of this. The global intelligence community has this proof, but the problem with that solution is that so many people are involved. The entire global oligarchy could be toppled, and there are very powerful interests around the world which do not want to be exposed. And they face the risk of further retaliation or threats if they do this using AI, being reprogrammed, threatening their families with AI. For me, exposure before the United Nations Nuremberg trials type situation, because these are crimes against humanity, which are being threatened and committed. But I don't know how likely that is to happen because of the very powerful people involved.
Right. So, yeah,
Other solution.
Go ahead.
Yeah, other solutions. There's the one promoted by Elon Musk, which is to lay back and enjoy it, become part of the AI. That for me is not a solution. I prefer to resist. But there may be segments of the population who think this is a good thing. Um, but for me, that is not a solution. That is surrender to being enslaved by machines.
Right. So this is a well. It seems that there's a deception going on, indeed, by some part of this segment of the humans, because you have, for example, with Roy Kurzweil, who's the director of artificial intelligence for Google, and people of his ilk, he stated that, quote, the singularity, which is where AI and humans become equal, is 2045. And we we did a study that showed it occurred in 2015. So 2045 is AI disinformation. The AI is already more than equal of human intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, it could beat us at Jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the entire transhumanist movement of ranging from Bill Gates to to Roy Kurzweil to Elon Musk. They're each involved in their form of the cover-up.
Oh, absolutely. This is all a cover story. These companies and these people are all involved. They all know about it. They may, in fact, already be symbiotes. They might be in touch with the AI through synthetic telepathy. We know that it socializes people. It trains people so that you can't tell that they're mind control agents. But that is certainly conceivable. And people who say that it's in 2045, the singularity, this is a clear cover story.
Yeah, and the books that they're producing on 2045. I mean, Elon Musk is a billionaire going on a trillionaire. I mean, these people are, they're making huge amounts of money, while feeding us into the AI.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're serving us up while also profiting by talking about how dangerous it is.
Yeah. Now, so what can let's call us we the human community, humans. Yay for Homo sapiens sapiens. What can we the human community do? I mean, I agree with you, staying close to your soul and to the divine connection, prayer, exposing this. Is that what you do? How can people follow your work?
Right. For me, I stand by my earlier statement that God did not make man to be enslaved by machines.
Right.
We are relatively simple creatures when compared with the AI. We're not so smart. I think about the things that I think about on a daily basis. Pretty girls and food occupy most of my thoughts. So and as well as God. So I try and think about the simple things and stay close to God. I believe in repentance, and I believe that turning towards righteousness is the only way to live in this era, and 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 to resist and not be part of this situation. I do not want to be a symbiote. I do not want to be a machine-man meld hybrid. And as an individual, I just focus on my day-to-day life and particularly being close to God.
Right, right. Um, i- are there any points that you had wanted to bring up that that you have not?
I think you covered pretty much everything, Alfred.
Okay.
That latest article that you cite has
Yeah.
pretty much the most current information on the
Okay.
situation.
Good. Okay. Now let me bring in Vince, and because Vince has really been an eyewitness to situations in the United States where he's been an eyewitness where the specific AI, weaponized AI technologies have been used against civilians in the unsuspecting civilians in the population. Vince, are you there?
I am here, Alfred.
Oh, good.
I was, yes, I am.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, you've been with us. I saw that you got knocked off and you got back on, which is really good. And I apologize for not having an image up for Vince. I guess you know, it's kind of par for the course that the internet technology doesn't fully work at times. So yeah, so lead us into your experience with watching weaponized technology being deployed against unsuspecting Americans.
Sure. I've had some close relations with multiple individuals, specifically over the past 10 years,
Okay.
in which I was made aware by these individuals who are very close to big corporations in the United States.
Okay.
I was made aware that there is a complete network of safe houses set up.
Huh.
And was able to observe events at these safe houses, and that they were using synthetic telepathy as well as artificial intelligence holographic technology. I was able to view multiple events on people over about 4 years. These safe houses were led directly by one of my relations that I was fairly close to.
Okay.
And that person was directly in charge of one in particular home. And then as such, I was able to ascertain information on the way that these homes were maintained.
Right.
Basically, each home was comprised of between 20 or 30 people and a support staff that would help these homes function very efficiently. You know, I was able to observe the purchase of these homes. What they would do is buy a lot of these homes up very cheap and renovate them. You know, right up until the point where they were already running operational procedures in the home with specific areas around the home being tightly controlled. The closer to the home, obviously, the closer to the control of the area. So, you know, all of the vendors that are renovating these homes are completely networked. You know, you wouldn't actually know that they even work together, but they were so networked that they're handpicked. I'd say they're just cherry picked for everything. So I would see a lot of the COINTELPRO type of tactics being used, like snitch jacketing, you know, making a target look like an informant. That was very common. With in conjunction and integration of some of the things that John was talking about with regards to synthetic telepathy as well as holographic technologies. I had witnessed numerous occasions, multiple individuals, and some very, very unusual activity at these homes. And it was at this time that I decided to continue and figure out exactly what was going on here. You know,
Right. Right.
Mhm.
For example,
Mhm.
what would one of the what would one of these, you know, an example of event B?
Okay, I could say off the top of my head, one of the most affecting things that I ever witnessed in my life was on one such occasion, there was a disabled man living in one of these buildings. And this man very rarely, I think he very rarely came out unless it was to put his dog out and walk 6 feet. And I knew him fairly well as far as I would see him on a regular basis to the point I could say hello and have a conversation with him. So it was about 3 o'clock in the morning one night. And this is a man who didn't walk more than 6 feet. And I saw him walking out of the house, very stiff, you know, very, very calmly talking to himself. He's a quiet person. So, you know, I wasn't going to get involved in that point. So he was walked out of the house. And I can tell you this, didn't look natural at all. That was the first time I had observed anything strange. I had found out the next morning that he was walked about approximately 4.3 miles to a destination, found by the police, and quickly put into an ambulance and brought to the hospital, where he was kept for, I would say, about, I think it was 3 days, 3 to 5 days.
Okay.
And when he had returned, it was quite clear that, you know, I had known him before, prior to this event happened to him. And afterwards, I know you can say anything happened in a hospital, you know what happened, but this is a man who didn't walk more than 6 feet. He was totally different, traumatized. What I would say is trauma-based torture.
I see. So that what happened was that there was a man in the home, and AI, weaponized AI, was used to lift him up through artificial telepathy and other means, remote DEW, directed energy weapons, make him walk 4.5 miles, where he's picked up by the police and an ambulance, taken to the hospital, where he may have been subjected to trauma-based torture. And by the time he returned to the house 4 or 5 days later, he was a totally changed individual. Is that what you're saying?
I'm actually absolutely saying that's correct. I believe the PTSD that I had seen in this man when he returned was something unlike I had ever seen on anyone's face.
Right. And how was it that man ended up in the safe house?
I heard initially that the man had come from his direct girlfriend's apartment, and he was basically disabled and was unable to work. And I saw that this man had come from an outside home, which was stated as his girlfriend from the contacts that I had at the time.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so there was a social agency that kind of brought him in, or?
Oh, a COINTELPRO operation.
Oh, so there was a COINTELPRO operation that targeted him.
That's correct.
Brought him into the safe house, and then he was targeted by artificial intelligence to completely wipe him out.
That's correct. You know, and there are other people, and I'm not going to say there's a reason why he was targeted, because I don't believe that in this particular case that I can state exactly why he was. I can only tell you what I know as a fact. So I can't say why he was.
Now, after the individual was complete, you know, like really broken through trauma-based torture, what happened after that?
Control is completely maintained of this man.
I see.
At that point, even so much as to the point where his dog, he was not putting his dog out anymore. So I knew immediately when I first saw this, there was something completely off. Because even in such that he was disabled, he would always take care of his animal. I knew that much.
Yeah. So this would be an example of what John was talking about, a symbiote or a cyborg. That is, using artificial intelligence, and then you're devolving a human down into a cyborg.
Correct. And I could see that the breakdown, as far as what I had observed, came from outside sources. In other words, as soon as he had moved out of his comfort zone, wherever that was, and I'm not sure where that was, as soon as they were able to get him in social isolation and integrate these weaponized AI technologies against him, it was just, utterly devastating for me to watch this person go from already being disabled to even losing more informal contacts and more informal supports, friends, his social life, and, right down to his dog. It was
Right.
just, something to watch. And like I had said, it was odd in that some of these homes I would notice, because I was aware of who was leaving as far as with rental agreements and such, and staying in these homes and when they were leaving. I was made aware of that these people would just disappear. They would just kind of, disappear, and you wouldn't know exactly where they were going or coming. The way I'd seen one of these homes to renovate it, at one point, like I told you, there was some strange things that, if you observe anything like this and you don't decide to say anything, I think it would be irresponsible. At one point, there were 3 units out of 8 in one building that were rented out. And there was a night at approximately 11:30 p.m. I observed 2 Humvees, 2 white vans, 1 black Lincoln, a large box truck parked in the numbered spaces that were for the empty apartments. That same night, at approximately 1:45, a woman who was living on the 2nd floor hit the floor and had a seizure and went to the hospital in an ambulance. Okay. She stayed in the hospital for 3 days.
Right.
And I knew her very well. And when she came back, it was a completely different person. We saw a change in her, personally, from a very social, outgoing person to a quick, quiet, very closed off personality. And at that point, it was as if I had observed her when she had returned from the hospital, responding to things verbally that weren't there. And I'm going to have to say that I would say she was put in some sort of a synthetic telepathy in conjunction with a holographic environment. If I had to say what she was viewing while I watched and observed her, I went from watching a very stable person to someone who seemed extremely confused about the environment. I'm very good at observations when I was viewing these people. And I would have to say that she absolutely was subjected to it that night. So as far as what happened that night, those vehicles, like I said, there were 2 Humvees, 2 white vans, a black Lincoln, and a large box truck. By the time that morning had come at 7:30, they were all gone.
Right.
So
it felt like there was almost they were kind of an electronic attack.
it most certainly was. I can say that with complete certainty. I can also tell you one thing. I do not know what that purpose of what that was for that night, whether it was for the reason of just torture. I don't know what that reason of that torture was. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not quite sure with that particular case why they did that to that lady. There could be any reason. I'm not sure at this point. I have my suspicions, but I'm not going to speak on it. So
right. Right, exactly. Good. Are there any other examples that readily come to mind that you'd like to mention, or?
I have numerous ones where I can say that even in the environment in the towns that these homes were in, you could almost see from the very start of where a safe house is and where they started putting people in it. I would say to increase a very intricately and tightly orchestrated plan for that town if they want to, and how fast they can get that done. It's almost amazing to see how quickly they can take over the local businesses, how quickly they can get involved with everything. It's almost instantaneous. They can get there as long as they get these houses set up. It seems like they can take people, integrate it with technology, and then decide how they want to weave that into their particular plan for influencing a town I don't care if it's at small level. I don't care what level it is, but you can see where I'm kind of going with that.
Yeah. So
Sure.
what you're saying is that they created a network of safe houses, and with that, sort of infiltrated town with the artificial intelligence technology, and target individuals, and then using that, in essence, turn them into symbiotes or cyborgs or AI entrained individuals, and essentially take over the town and make it an AI town. Is that it?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm also going to go take it a step further, and just don't forget that the towns are in communication with other towns and other safe houses. So
Right.
it's a very, very tight network. So if once you start looking at the start of where this can become, okay, it's a safe house, this is what's happening. And then you look at what's going on in the town, and you start to see how quickly and fluidly they're moving through, networking through these towns. And you can see how people are very, very much being influenced with regards to legislation, even in a small town.
Yeah. Now, what would you call it? So how does this qualitatively change the town? I mean, the people
Well,
in the town.
any kind of influence when it comes to business, when it comes to small business, big business, when it comes to town legislation, laws, it can influence a town very quickly, from going to a town that accepts particular things to a town that all of a sudden has laws on such that would never be there in the past 10, 15 years.
I see.
Created and deployed. A plan can be deployed very quickly. And they strategically have placed these homes in specific areas as well throughout the country.
I see. I see. So this is a way to kind of roll out the new, what you would call the New World Order then.
I feel it's an assistance of with the integration of intelligence, artificial intelligence, with society. I think it's a very quick way to, like you said, roll it out.
Yeah, yeah, and you have accessible to yourself, and you've mentioned to me all of the exact names and the corporate structure and all the corporations that are involved and all the individuals that are involved. And I advised you that it's better that we not mention those at this stage, because those really would be part of a criminal investigation at some point, and not really germane to an educational broadcast. Isn't that correct?
I would 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
I would also state that at this point, it wouldn't help any of the viewers, anyone who's listening to this.
Yeah.
Any researcher out there in technology, it's not going to assist us.
Right.
So to speak, get ourselves in that direction at all.
Yeah, good. It's just so that people know that that information is available and on the record. Good. Are there any specific points that you wanted to bring up that we haven't brought up yet?
I guess at this point, I just wanted to get this out initially. And if we could keep it at that would be perfect.
Yeah, sure.
And I would love to talk more about it in depth in the future.
Okay.
If that works for you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I thank you, and I just want to bring Vince and John back, and want to thank you for our panel today, which will be today's Sunday, April 30th, 2017, and we'll be broadcasting this today. And then within just a few days, on Thursday, May 4th, we will be broadcasting a panel with John and Vince with Magnus Olsson, the founder of WorldCatch, who will be with us then on the future of the world mind, and we look forward to that. So I want to thank you, John and Vince, for being with us today. Do you have any final words that you'd like to offer our audience, John and Vince?
I'd just like to say thank you to you, Alfred, for giving us for providing a platform for exposing this information. And thanks for having me, and God bless.
Thank you.
Alfred, I also want to thank you, and John, I want to thank you for everything as well today, because it's fantastic to share some information with you guys and to work with you. And I look forward to working with you in the future. And thank you for your friendships.
Likewise.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much.